right now the front runner to win MVP for the Buffalo Bills. We've seen phenomenal seasons from Josh Allen, really, over the last 4 years. Basically, he had those 2 first years that he was in the NFL. Looked a little bit rough, had his good moments, had his bad moments, and just ever since that 3rd season, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know if statistically you would say that, like, this is his best season, but the offense just overall is playing so well. And so that sort of brings up another point here. We talk about this with other quarterbacks. We're going to talk about this a little bit with Jared Goff to kind of end the show, but with Allen, I went into the year, Seth, thinking there's more on his shoulders this year more than ever. And I thought it was going to be too much. It's why I had the Buffalo Bills as a Super Bowl pick multiple years in a row, and this year I went away from it because I just thought there was going to be too much on his plate. It actually somehow looks the opposite. Not that Josh Allen's not doing incredible things, he is, but especially with the addition of Amari Cooper, it looks like he has more help, more diversity of where the football can go and how they can trust all 3 of the running backs that they have out of the backfield, all 6 or 7 of the receiver options, whether wide receivers or tight ends. It feels like he can go anywhere with the football, and this is one of the most balanced attacks in the NFL. Josh Allen's a reason why. What have you thought about Josh Allen, and in particular, being the odds-on favorite right now to win MVP? What do you think about that?
I have a question for you first. When you were watching the Bills 49ers snow game on Sunday night, that was fun to watch, right? Like, there was like the most fun blowout island game that I've watched in a long time. Am I wrong about this?
So I don't think you're wrong. And as someone who grew up in Florida,
oh God, I don't want to hear it.
I hate the cold. I hate the cold. The cold sucks. You know, like we got the Cincinnati studio here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's very cold right now. Walking to work, scootering to work, which I normally do, miserable in the cold. Don't like it. Would not subscribe. However, playing sports when weather is a factor is extremely fun. Even growing up in Florida, when we had rain games, I grew up playing a lot of soccer, like when it would rain, like there is just that part of you just want to play your best. Like, because it's almost like the elements are against you, the odds are stacked against you, you want to play your best. It was like the Thursday night football game with the Browns and Jameis Winston. Like, that game was so back and forth the whole time. The Steelers, the Browns, it was like that first half of that game where there was no weather involved at all whatsoever, extremely boring football game. The second half of that game, when it looked like an absolute blizzard, fun as hell. Because every play, you could tell that every single player was like, hell yeah, it's a snow game. Jameis called it an NFL Films game. That's also how I felt about the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. Like, yeah, the offensive output was a lot smaller. Guys aren't, they're running as fast. It's cold. It's tough to play in those conditions. But you want to win so bad. When you are cold, when you are wet, when the conditions have you miserable, you don't want to end that game and think about losing. You want to end the game and think about, we overcame a really good football team and we overcame the weather. Look at how fun this was. And I think the post-game celebrations that you saw with like Sean McDermott doing the snow angels and everything like that is a manifestation of how when snow or rain or weather is involved in sporting events, it transports you back to just like being a kid, having fun, and wanting to win the damn game. So again, to set it up, I hate the cold. But when I watch games where weather is involved, I can understand players just being like, hell yeah, we're going to get out. We're not going to suffer through the weather and then also lose the football game. So it does make it a lot of fun.
I'm so glad you went on a 25-minute rant. Well, whatever the positive version of a rant is, because I only asked you because I felt the same way. But I asked someone who was there at the game, someone we know who was there at the game, and he was like, it was cold, man.
Yeah, I would hate just standing there watching it, but I would love to play in it, if that makes sense.
All right, Josh Allen.
Yes.
A good player. Really good player.
Good ball player.
MVP
all right, so moving
player.
on to Jared Goff. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I think what you said about like the way this offense has changed, not just from a personnel standpoint at the receiver position, to me, the thing that we've been saying needs to happen is they need to have two offenses that both work. They need to be able to get under center and run the football. They can do that now. Like, they're good at it. And they need to be, and then, you know, you also have the ability for Josh Allen just to be Josh Allen and go gun and kill teams. But they haven't been in a ton of games other than the Chiefs game, maybe off the top of my head, where like they've needed this the pure Superman Josh Allen. And that's great. Like, that's great. Like, whether he wins the MVP or not, I don't even care. What I care about is I think this leads to more success in the playoffs. Now, with that said, the success in the playoffs thing, they've had success in the playoffs. Like, everyone would say they've disappointed in the playoffs. Like, offensively, they're a Super Bowl caliber team. They've been a Super Bowl caliber team. But I think what I'm hoping for is that this offense sets them up better in the regular season to, like you said, take some pressure off of Josh Allen. They're gonna be the Josh Allen team in the playoffs. Like, you don't have a choice once you get to those levels, once you get to playing against those defenses. So it's really just like kind of like keeping him from being too beat up, from, you know, throwing too many passes, from having to escape pressure all the time in the regular season, so that he's healthy enough in the playoffs when it matters the most. And you're hoping to get a bye week, which I think is still on the table for sure, especially the way the Chiefs are playing all these one-score games. So I think this sets them up better in terms of Josh Allen being a great quarterback in the playoffs. When at this point, with how bad the AFC East continues to be, that's kind of where they expect to be every season.
I think the Chiefs are going to drop one, right? I mean, we got 5 games left.
Chargers this week.
Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. I think they drop one of those games.
I think so too.
So at least one of those games. So they're at least going to, if Buffalo can run the table and they can have the same record, they beat Kansas City head-to-head. So I got to think that's the first tiebreaker for playoff seeding. I know it's not for the draft. Like, the draft's very different. Like, people think about the NFL draft and they go like, well, unfortunately this team beat this team. Head-to-head is much further down the tiebreaker when it comes to settling the NFL draft spot. But I believe playoff head-to-head comes up pretty quickly. So they already beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So there's a very real possibility that you're right. We have the Buffalo Bills with the 1 seed. And if they do, that's paramount. They are 6-0 at home this season. I mean, they are very clearly a team that can become superhuman when they play in front of their fans and just in an environment that they're very comfortable with. Not to say that they've been bad on the road. Obviously, they're a 10-2 team. They're fantastic everywhere, but undefeated at home this season, and it's very clearly an advantage for them. Sometimes it just happens to be like, yeah, okay, they don't have to travel. You know, it's not that big of a deal. I feel like for Buffalo specifically, it is a really big deal. And I know Kansas City has gone in there and won before, but you're right. It just feels like they are. I look at the run game, I really do. And I think the run game is so healthy with this team. And for a while, I used to feel as though, okay, the run game is good for the Buffalo Bills, but I think the run game is good because of Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is certainly an element of the run game now, but you look at this past week, this is a snow game, right? I mean, like, you would want to run the football plenty. Josh Allen had 3 designed carries for them in this game, 18 total rushing yards, and that was 4th best on the team. And that's what you love to see, because Ty Johnson, 28 total yards, but 5.6 yards per carry average. Ray Davis, 63 yards, 5.7 yards per carry average. James Cook, 107 yards, 7.6 yards per carry average. He had a 65-yard long run, which really boosts that up and helps that out. But to me, it's the rushing element of this team, and you saying like how the offense, it's not just about Josh Allen. He can truly hand the ball off and feel good about it. Sometimes you get quarterbacks like this where you go, okay, we're going to hand the ball off because we sort of have to, because our quarterback can't take every single play. I don't feel like that's the case in Buffalo. I'm more comfortable and confident with this Buffalo Bills team reaching the Super Bowl than I ever have been. And that means a lot, because I am somebody who picked Buffalo to reach the Super Bowl the last 2 seasons. I really liked what this team was able to do and how they were constructed and the stars that they have, but this year they look more well-balanced on offense than they ever have before. And anytime you talk about having balance and then adding a player like Josh Allen once you get into the playoffs to say, like, okay, yeah, we just need to put the ball in his hands. How can you not have faith in this team to be a Super Bowl contender and make it to the Super Bowl? So I think that they have been fantastic in that regard. Are you worried at all whatsoever about, like, the lack of stars that they have in the passing game? I'm not. It feels like they complement each other very, very well, whether it's a big Khalil Shakir game, whether it's a Keon Coleman game where he has a couple of major catches, certainly Amari Cooper as well. Like, I look at this wide receiver core and I say, okay, yeah, there are some more star-studded receiving cores around the NFL, but it feels like it's the perfect group in Buffalo. So I wondered if you had any thoughts there as well.
Yeah, I think the worry thing would be if Amari Cooper they don't gel in time, but I assume they will. And once that happens, oh my God, they're going to be so good. Like, they're going to be so good with Amari Cooper. Like, Amari Cooper last year had a stretch, weeks, like whatever it was, 13 to 17 or whatever, to 18, where he was, like, honestly one of the better top 5 receiver in the league. There's that capability there with Amari Cooper. Obviously, every year you get older, you have less of that. You have less possibility of that happening. But I do think there's a chance. And if they get it together, those two, I mean, they're going to be unstoppable.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can come one today.